The strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. I'm going to say that again. The strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. What does that mean? We live in a world of so much uncertainty now because change happens how often? Constantly. Men's roles, women's roles, jobs, environments, businesses, bam, 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 it's all changing. So we have a need as human beings for certainty. We're not certain about relationships, businesses, time. We're not certain about a lot, but one thing at least we're certain about is I know who I am. If you don't know that, you freak out and you have what's called an identity crisis. We can't make any decisions, you're freaking out. So we all define ourselves subconsciously. So some people see themselves as being extraordinarily conservative. Are they going to do something crazy? They're going to know, hey, I'm not that kind of person. What kind of person? I don't know, but I'm not that kind of person. Isn't that true? If you think you're outrageous, you move differently, you talk differently, you do things differently. There's no one right or wrong, but most of us have trapped ourselves in an old identity. We've never updated who we are today. And so you go learn something, a skill, a talent, or ability, but your identity is, this is who I am, and so you never far surpass it. I'll give you a metaphor, and this will make more sense. If in this room we set the thermostat at 78 degrees, and the temperature drops, let's say 78 degrees is a metaphor for your comfort zone, not your goals, your comfort zone, which is known as your identity. Okay, people have goals that are more than their identity. That's why they don't usually get their goals, unless they expand their identity. So 78 degrees is how your body weight, not your goal, but the one you're comfortable with that you live regularly. 70 degrees is how much intimate emotion you have in your personal relationship. 70 degrees is how much money you need to make to feel comfortable, not your ultimate goal, but your comfort zone. 70 degrees is the kind of relationship you need to have with God. It's at 78 degrees. And let's say the temperature drops to 72. What happens? This thermostat in your brain goes, hey, 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 I am a 78 degree or not 72. And what happens? Heaters kick on. The heaters kick on to give you some kind of drive to change it, to make it better, to do something. How many of you ever experienced the part of your life, your body, your finances, somewhere where it dropped and it wasn't good enough and you felt drive to change it? How many of you have had that experience? Say I. Now, if it's 72 degrees and you're supposed to be at 78, you try to change it and it doesn't work, and try something else doesn't work, try something else doesn't work. After a while, nobody wants to have disappointment and pain. So what some people do is they lower the thermostat. They go, I'm not a 78 degreer, I'm a 72 degreer. Those 78 degreers are full of themselves. I'm downsizing and being smarter. Next thing you know, they're at 68, then they're at 54. By the way, when they get to 54, who do they surround themselves with? 78 degree people? Who do they surround themselves with? 50 degree people, so they can feel good about themselves on a regular basis. Isn't it true? Now, you people are not like that. You're all overachievers. So if you drop down to 78 degrees, or excuse me, 72 degrees, you don't settle. You try something doesn't work, you do something else. Do something else. Break through, get a seminar, learn something, get a cut, whatever it takes, I do it. And by the way, do you stop when you get back to 78 degrees, people? Yes or no? No, you get to 80, 85, 90, 95, 98, 99 degrees, and all of a sudden your brain goes, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? You're not a 99 degree. What are you doing up here? What the heck are you doing? And as soon as you realize you're outside your comfort zone, your brain clicks on, and guess what happens? The heaters stop, and you lose your drive. And now instead of selling, you're shopping, right? Now all of a sudden, you're in a position where if that's not enough, the air conditioners kick on, and you begin to sabotage yourself to get you back to where you think you deserve to be. How many of you, I know none of you have done this, but how many have seen other people sabotage themselves? How many have seen other people do this kind of stuff? I thought so, right? How many of you have ever sabotaged yourself? Say I. If you don't raise your hand, you lie about other things too, don't you? Come on. How many of you have been in a relationship and it's going really well, and then you like say something, you go, why did they say that? You know what's going to screw it up? How many of you have ever done this? Say I. So sabotage is because you're outside your comfort zone, you're beyond your identity. So the reason I tell you this is today, to get the most out of this day, one, change your state, because the fastest way to change your identity is to do things you don't normally do. And your brain will go, I don't do this, I just did it, it felt good. Maybe I could do this, maybe I'm more. Does that make sense? What gives you the edge? It's understanding why people do what they do. Because if you understand why, you can have powerful, positive influence. It says everything human beings do, they do for one of two reasons. We know what they are: to avoid what? Or to gain what? Now, as overly simplistic as that is, everything we do to avoid pain or gain pleasure, it's not quite true. Here's what I mean by that. We avoid what we assume pain to. We don't avoid real pain. We avoid what we associate pleasure to, because we're not dogs. As human beings, can we decide to make something that's painful actually pleasurable? Is that possible, yes or no? Can a hunger striker go on a strike and feel the physical pain of hunger and convert that into ecstatic feelings because they believe they're doing something that's morally right, yes or no? So we have the power to change what things mean to us and therefore what we feel in our body about them. We are not just like dogs. You know, a Nelson Mandela can be locked up for almost 27 years, right? And be in a position where it wasn't painful. When I met him the first time, I said, how did you survive that? And he looked at me with this really indignant look, like, how dare you even use such a word? And I looked at him and he said, I didn't survive that. He said, I prepared. I thought, whoa. He said, I knew one of two things would happen. Either I would die and it would spark a revolution of change, or I would live and I have to be prepared to lead. And to be a real leader, I need to be prepared for that. I mean, can you imagine a man coming out and don't want to kill everybody? If someone took a quarter of a century of your life, you might be just a smidge upset, wouldn't you? But instead, he comes out and says, you know what? You guys that put me in jail, lead with me. That's what human beings are capable of. But that means taking control of what equals pain and what equals pleasure. Most of us, though, live like dogs. We let other people train us what equals pains or pleasure so we fit into their world. We must take control of that process. And leadership